Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. It seems like everywhere you shop online these days, you're hit with that buy now, pay later option.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're making it hard to resist. Well, hold on to your hats because today we're going to explore a counter movement.
Hmm.
It's all about saying, don't buy now, pay later.
Really makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does.
Eh.
It challenges that whole instant gratification mentality we've gotten so used to.
Right.
So, our source material for this deep dive is a really interesting podcast episode from Haptic R&D Consulting.
Okay.
Have you heard of them?
Yeah, I've come across their work. They're big on responsible innovation, right?
Exactly. They consult with businesses on sustainability and ethical practices.
It's like they're trying to help companies do well by doing good.
That's a great way to put it. And they're making a strong case for why this don't buy now philosophy is something businesses should seriously consider.
Not just from an ethical standpoint, but for their bottom line, too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start by unpacking the whole buy now, pay later thing.
Sure.
I mean, on the surface, it seems pretty convenient.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's flexible. It helps people get what they want when they want it.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a feeling there's more to the story. There's always a catch, isn't there?
Well, there's definitely a flip side to it. BNPL can be a slippery slope into overspending and debt.
Oh, really? Is it that serious?
Haptic actually cited studies showing that people who use BNPL frequently are statistically more likely to end up in debt.
Wow, I had no idea the connection was that strong.
It's like you're delaying the pain of payment.
But it eventually catches up with you.
Exactly. And sometimes with even bigger consequences than if you'd paid up front.
That makes sense. So overspending is one problem, but are there other downsides?
Well, a lot of times these BNPL schemes come with all sorts of hidden fees and complicated terms and conditions.
Oh, so it's not as straightforward as it seems.
Not always. Haptic actually called out this lack of transparency as a major issue. They say it can cause a lot of stress, especially for people who are already struggling to manage their money.
That's really concerning. So you have this combination of instant gratification, potential hidden costs, and then maybe even serious financial trouble down the line.
Right.
It sounds like a recipe for disaster, not just for individuals, but for the economy as a whole.
Absolutely. It raises some big questions about the role of businesses in all of this.
Like, are they contributing to the problem by pushing these BNPL schemes just to increase sales?
Exactly. Are they prioritizing short-term profits over the long-term well-being of their customers?
It's kind of a moral dilemma, isn't it?
It is. And it speaks to a larger issue of responsible consumption.
Okay, so we've talked about some of the potential pitfalls of buy now, pay later.
Right.
Let's switch gears a bit and talk about this don't buy now, pay later concept.
Yeah.
To be honest, it seems kind of counterintuitive, in our fast-paced, I want it now culture.
I get what you mean.
But Haptic sees it as a real opportunity for businesses to rethink their approach.
To innovate in a way that benefits everyone, not just their bottom line.
I like that, what they call responsible innovation.
Yeah.
But what does that look like in practice? What are some real-world examples?
Well, Haptic highlights 3 key areas where businesses can make a real difference: financial awareness, sustainability, and trust building.
Those are some pretty big concepts.
They are, but they're interconnected.
Let's break them down.
Sure. So, first up is financial awareness.
Okay.
This is all about helping you, the consumer, make more informed choices about your spending.
Less impulsive buying, more conscious spending.
Exactly. And that ties into the second area, sustainability.
Right. Because if you buy less stuff, you're using fewer resources.
Which means less waste, less pollution, and a lower environmental impact.
I never thought of it that way. So don't buy now is good for the planet.
Definitely.
What about trust building? How does that fit in?
When a company encourages you to save up for something rather than pushing you into debt, that builds trust.
It shows they care about your financial well-being.
Exactly. They're becoming a partner in your financial journey, not just trying to make a quick sale.
I love that. It's a complete shift in the relationship between businesses and consumers.
It is.
So we've talked about the problems with buy now, pay later, and this whole concept of don't buy now, pay later.
Right.
But how do businesses actually put this into action? How do they make it happen?
Well, Haptic had some interesting ideas about that.
I'm all ears.
They propose 3 main approaches that businesses can use to really embrace this philosophy.
Okay, let's hear them. What's the first one?
The first one is what they call smart payment models.
Smart payment models. Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
These are alternatives to BNPL that are designed to encourage more responsible spending habits.
So what would a smart payment model look like?
Well, one example is a savings-based option. Like you set aside money each month until you have enough to buy what you want.
Oh, like a modern-day layaway system,
Yeah, exactly. It encourages delayed gratification.
which is the opposite of what buy now, pay later is all about.
Right. And they also suggest things like offering rewards for people who choose to pay in full upfront.
Interesting. It's like rewarding responsible behavior rather than encouraging debt.
Exactly. Okay, ready for their second suggestion.
Hit me with it.
They propose that businesses could partner with educational platforms,
Educational platforms like what?
like online courses, workshops, things like that.
To teach people about financial literacy.
Exactly. Help people learn how to manage their money effectively.
I love that idea. It's empowering people to make smarter choices.
It is.
Okay, what about their third suggestion?
This one's all about transparency.
Transparency. Okay, I'm listening.
They believe that businesses should be completely upfront about all fees and terms and conditions.
So no more hidden costs or confusing fine print.
Exactly. It's about building trust with consumers.
It's also just the right thing to do. Wow, this is a lot to take in. It's amazing to think about how something as simple as choosing to don't buy now can have such a huge impact,
It really can.
not just on our own wallets, but on the environment, on businesses, even on our culture.
It's a ripple effect.
It really is.
Yeah.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
There's so much more to explore.
That's what we'll be doing in part 2. We'll be back soon to dive deeper into those ripple effects and see how don't buy now could change the world as we know it.
I can't wait.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive. Last time we were talking about how companies can actually put this don't buy now philosophy into action.
Yeah, those 3 approaches from Haptic were really interesting.
Right. Smart payment models, financial literacy programs, and total transparency.
Hmm.
But it all sounds kind of theoretical, like are there any companies actually doing this stuff in the real world?
Oh, absolutely. There are some pretty inspiring examples out there.
Okay, give me the goods. Who's doing this don't buy now thing right?
Well, Patagonia is a great example. Patagonia, the outdoor clothing company.
Yeah, they've always been big on sustainability.
Yeah, I've heard that.
But a few years ago, they launched this campaign that really caught my eye.
What was it?
It was called Don't Buy This Jacket.
Wait, seriously, don't buy this jacket.
Yeah.
They told people not to buy their product.
Yep. They wanted people to think twice before buying new stuff, even if it was from them.
Wow, that's bold. Did it work?
It totally did. It got a ton of positive attention.
Really?
People loved that they were willing to put their values before profits.
It kind of makes you want to buy from them even more, you know?
Right. It's like
Right.
they're saying, we care about more than just making money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Builds trust.
Yeah.
Okay, so Patagonia's a good one.
Mhm.
Any other companies out there walking the walk?
IKEA is another interesting example.
IKEA, the furniture place.
Yep. They've been testing out a buyback program.
A buyback program. What's that?
You can actually sell your old IKEA furniture back to them.
Seriously. What do they do with all that old furniture?
Yeah. They refurbish it and resell it at a discount.
That's so smart. It keeps furniture out of landfills.
And it makes their products more accessible to people who might not be able to afford brand new stuff.
It's a win-win, isn't it?
Totally.
Okay, so we have Patagonia telling people not to buy their jackets, IKEA giving furniture a second life. What other kinds of things are companies doing?
Yeah, we're seeing more companies offering repair services now, instead of just throwing stuff away.
Oh, that's cool. Like for clothes and electronics and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And some companies are using more recycled materials.
Definitely.
It's like a whole new way of thinking about business.
It is.
Okay, so we've seen some good real-world examples.
Mhm.
Now, I want to circle back to those ripple effects we talked about before.
Okay.
We talked about how don't buy now can be good for the environment.
Right. Less consumption means fewer resources used.
But what about the economy? A lot of people worry that if people buy less stuff, the economy will suffer.
Yeah, that's a common concern.
But I thought you said it could actually be good for the economy in the long run.
It can be. It's about shifting our focus.
Shifting our focus. In what way?
Instead of just buying all the time, we start thinking more carefully about our purchases.
So more mindful spending.
Exactly.
Okay, but how does that help the economy?
Well, when we're constantly bombarded with advertising,
Oh, tell me about it.
we tend to make a lot of impulse purchases.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that.
And those purchases don't always align with our values or our long-term goals.
You mean like buying stuff we don't really need and can't really afford?
Exactly. That leads to overspending and debt.
And then people feel stressed and unhappy.
Right. But when we slow down and make more intentional choices,
Hmm.
we tend to spend our money on things that truly matter to us.
Things that bring us real joy or make our lives better,
Yeah, exactly. And that can lead to greater financial security.
which is good for everyone, right?
Exactly. A stable economy is built on people who are financially healthy.
That makes sense.
And when people feel secure, they're more likely to invest in their communities.
Support local businesses, things like that.
Right.
Okay, so don't buy now could lead to a more stable economy, a healthier environment.
Mm.
But what about our culture? How could this shift impact the way we live and interact with each other?
Now that's where things get really interesting.
Tell me more.
Imagine a world where we're not constantly bombarded with messages telling us to buy more stuff.
Sounds peaceful.
It would be. We'd have more space to focus on what really matters,
Like what?
like spending time with loved ones, connecting with nature, pursuing our
Things
passions.
that actually make us happy.
Exactly. We could shift from a culture of consumerism to a culture of well-being.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
But is it really possible? We're so programmed to find happiness in buying things.
It's a big shift, for sure, but I think we're already seeing signs of it happening.
Oh, really? Like what?
Look at the growing popularity of minimalism, tiny house living, the sharing economy.
Yeah, those are good examples.
People are starting to realize that true happiness doesn't come from owning a bunch of stuff.
It comes from experiences, relationships, living a life that's aligned with our values.
Exactly.
So, don't buy now could actually lead to a more meaningful and fulfilling way of life.
I believe it can.
Wow, this has been an amazing conversation.
Mm.
We've talked about how don't buy now can benefit the environment, the economy, even our own well-being.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a feeling there are also some challenges.
Oh, definitely.
Like, how do we make sure this movement is accessible to everyone, not just those who are already financially secure?
That's a really important question.
And how do we navigate this shift without hurting small businesses or disrupting the economy?
Right.
That's what we'll be discussing in part 3. We'll be back soon to tackle those tough questions and explore some practical steps we can all take to make a difference.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to the show. So we've been talking about this Don't Buy Now movement, and honestly, it's got me thinking. It all sounds great in theory, you know?
Yeah.
Less consumption, a more mindful approach to spending.
Right.
But I keep coming back to this question of practicality. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, how do we actually make this work in the real world?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Because not everyone's starting from the same place, financially speaking.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges with this whole don't buy now thing.
Like, it kind of assumes that everyone has the means to just stop buying stuff.
Yeah.
Or to delay gratification, you know?
Like, just save up for it. Well, what if you can barely make ends meet as it is?
Right.
Yeah.
Don't buy it. Might sound a little tone deaf to someone who's struggling to put food on the table.
Exactly. For some people, buying things on credit might be the only way they can access essential goods.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it that way.
It's easy to forget that not everyone has that financial cushion.
So how do we make sure this movement is inclusive, you know? That it doesn't just benefit those who are already well off?
That's a really important question.
And a tough one, I think.
It is, but I don't think it's impossible.
Okay, I'm listening. What are your thoughts?
Well, for starters, we need to acknowledge that individual choices are only part of the equation.
Meaning what?
Meaning, we also need to address those bigger systemic issues.
Oh, you mean things like poverty and income inequality.
Exactly. And lack of access to financial education, affordable housing.
Right, because if you're constantly stressed about making rent or putting food on the table, saving money or buying sustainable products probably isn't top of mind.
It's about survival at that point.
Exactly. So don't buy now
Mm-hmm.
can't just be about individual responsibility,
It has to be about creating a system where everyone has a fair shot.
where everyone has the opportunity to thrive, not just survive.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we need to work on those systemic issues.
Yeah.
But what about the immediate impact on businesses?
Right.
I mean, if everyone suddenly stopped buying things,
Yeah.
the economy would tank, right?
Well, that's the fear, isn't it?
It is. And I especially worry about small businesses.
Oh, for sure.
They're already facing so many challenges.
They are.
We don't want to make things even harder for them.
No, we don't. But I think there's a way to navigate this transition thoughtfully.
Okay, how so?
It's about finding that sweet spot between reducing consumption and supporting businesses.
Yeah, because we still need a functioning economy.
We do.
Huh?
And I think Don't Buy Now can actually help create a more sustainable and ethical economy.
Okay, how does that work?
It's about shifting our focus from quantity to quality.
Meaning what?
Meaning, instead of buying a bunch of cheap disposable stuff that ends up in a landfill,
Mm-hmm.
we start investing in things that are built to last.
Products that are durable, repairable, made from sustainable materials.
Exactly. And that shift in demand would incentivize businesses to change their practices.
They'd have to adapt or get left behind.
Right. And we'd see a rise in businesses that are focused on quality and sustainability.
It's like we'd be creating a whole new marketplace, one that values those things.
Exactly. And that's where Don't Buy Now can really make a difference.
It's about changing the rules of the game.
It is.
Wow, this is all very thought-provoking. But I have to ask, what can we do as individuals, to be part of this change?
That's a great question. And I think it starts with awareness
Awareness of what?
of our own habits, our own impact.
Like how much stuff we buy, where we buy it from, things like that.
Exactly. And then asking ourselves those tough questions.
Right. Do I really need this? Is there a more sustainable option?
Yeah. And supporting businesses that align with our values.
Voting with our wallets, so to speak.
Right, exactly. And don't underestimate the power of conversation.
What do you mean?
Talk to your friends and family about these things.
Share what we've learned, spread the word.
Yeah, exactly. The more we talk about it, the more momentum we create.
It's like a ripple effect.
It is. And you never know who you might inspire.
That's true. Wow, this has been an incredible deep dive.
It-
I feel like I have a whole new perspective on consumerism,
I'm glad to hear that.
and I'm excited to start making some changes in my own life.
That's great.
I think we all have a role to play in creating a more sustainable and fulfilling future.
Absolutely.
And Don't Buy Now is a powerful reminder that we have more power than we realize.
We do.
Thanks for joining us on this journey. We hope you found it as thought-provoking as we have.
Thanks for having me.
And remember, every choice we make, every purchase we consider, is an opportunity to create the world we want to see.
That's a great way to put it.
So let's choose wisely. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.